start being humble with all this talent. Oh, all this talent on the radio. Oh, but I'm going to be humble because I realize that it's a gift from God. Amen. Oh, hallelujah. Turn it up, Talking John. Work with me. Come on.
Hello. How are you?
All right. Who's on the line?
This is Bill Patmon, candidate for mayor of the city of Cleveland.
Bill Patmon. Listen, I heard, I've been reading the paper, and I was reading about the best dressed candidates on the planet. They were dealing with the candidates of the Cleveland mayoral election. And even before I start reading the articles, I said, I know who the sharpest is. I know who the baddest is. I know who's been doing it for years when it comes to fashion. I know who makes everybody else look secondary when it comes to fashion. And sure enough, when I saw your picture, Bill Patmon, mayoral candidate, with that bow tie on, Lord have mercy, did you dress extra sharp for that picture?
No, that's every day for me. My mother started that when I was 9 years old. She bought me a pair of floor-shine shoes, pinstripe suit, and put a bow tie on me. She scrubbed floors for a living, and she wanted to make sure I had a special Easter. And I remember that to this day.
And Brother Patmon, you remember to this day because you've been representing ever since?
Ever since. She taught me how to do that. She said, don't be flashy, be expensive and well.
Lord, have mercy. So right away, in our poll, and I know we had some dappers out there, Mayor Dapple candidates, but in our poll, you ran away with the best dress. So if that's any indication of what's going to happen in this election, boy, you already got a head start, brother. Bill Patmon.
Well, it is needed. I just think Cleveland deserves better than it's getting. And I think I can do that. I think I can represent us in a way that makes us proud. My mother used to have a saying when I'd leave the house after I got old enough to understand. She would say, baby, don't make me shame. And I tried to go one better for her every time I left the house. Still doing that to this day.
No doubt about it, Bill. Bill, listen. There's one thing. Can I call you Bill? I know you're presidential, but I know I'm going to call you Bill for this moment, okay? Bill,
okay.
Listen, what school did you go to?
Actually, I went to a school in Detroit, Southwestern.
No doubt about it. When did you come to Cleveland?
I came to Cleveland in 1980. I saw Cleveland for the first time, and I've been here ever since.
And you've been representing that well Cleveland ever since?
Ever since. I got elected to Cleveland City Council in 1989, and I've been at it ever since, either at the State House, RTA, or at the council. And, you know, I was the chairman of finance one while, and we did real well from both sides of the river while I was doing that. Yes, we did.
No doubt about it. How much time did you spend on council when you was first elected?
12 years straight. Chairman of the finance committee for about 2.5 years. And for the other 10 years, I was actually a member of the Finance Committee. So I understand government just kind of intimately because, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but the mayor can't spend more than $10,000 at least then. Now he can spend up to $50,000 without the permission of council. So each and every time a proposal came up, we had to approve it. And I enjoyed that because I could always figure a way to get the needy and kind of hold back the greedy. And that was really my hallmark for doing what I do.
Look out for the needy and hold back for the greedy. Man, that's a good trademark right now. And Brother Bill, that's what you're going to do if you become the mayor?
If I become the mayor, this town will be different. And people from both sides of the river and downtown can benefit because there's enough for everyone. But again, it is the greedy that throws it out of balance. Folks need to represent their constituency. Fannie Lewis said to me years ago, she said, if your people is catching hell, you ought to be raising hell. Well, they can count on me for that. And you give me the authority, I'll do a little bit more than raise it.
You're reading my mind because I was going to bring that up. I know that our late matriarch, Fannie Lewis had a great deal of confidence in you. When I went over to her office, you were always there, and she depended on you. Tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Well, last 4 years of her life, I was her personal assistant. I would pick her up in the morning and take her around to look at vacant lots. And when it came to tough negotiations, like with the Cleveland Clinic, she said, Bill, you go do it. I trust you just that much. And that gave me even more impetus to be just what she thought I was. Be who people think you are. And she trusted me, and I loved her. And like I said, she gave me some stuff that I use to this day.
So Bill, now you and I both know, and the people, the voters that really know Fannie Lewis, no, Fannie Lewis didn't take no stuff, and Fannie Lewis didn't trust everybody. Bill, so for her to trust you, you must have been all right.
Well, when I was in council, Ms. Lewis sat on the finance committee with me when we took over council, and I was the chairman, and I would make sure that Huff got taken care of during that period, and other places that were poor and disenfranchised and weren't receiving the kind of service they deserved. Because although people talk about the voter, this government is built on apportionment. If you don't vote, you deserve representation. If you don't vote, you still pay taxes. Or somebody who loves you do if they're working. So everybody deserves representation. And that's how she looked at it, and that's how I look at it.
So you're saying, I love that. And I haven't really heard that, Bill. You're saying that even though the voters themselves have to get you in, that's not enough. When you're elected, if you're elected mayor, or when you're elected mayor, is you're going to look out for all the people in all the neighborhoods and downtown, but you're going to definitely look out for the neighborhoods. Is that right?
Absolutely. The neighborhoods have fallen behind, so, first year or two, I may do a little bit extra here and there, but at the same time, it's all one Cleveland. It's just one Cleveland. It's not two. It's not three. We are not a city of haves and have-nots. We're a city of haves. We have more assets in the city of Cleveland than any other city in Ohio. We have 3 ball teams, concerts, a medical mecca. There is no reason for us to be behind in anything in this city with good leadership.
So Bill, when the last time I had a chance to talk to the famous Dick Goddard, surprisingly, he mentioned your name. He mentioned your name with such a smile because you and Dick Goddard got something done that hadn't been done in years and years in this city. What was that all about, Bill?
Well, we looked at least I did even before Dick came on board. I looked to see what kind of laws we had when it comes to companion animals across the nation. And Ohio was, how do they say, out in the world, they was leaking. They did not have things to protect companion animals. They shoot them and abuse them. And it's only one time that you come in the house and somebody that loves you might not ask you where you've been, just be glad to see you. That's your dog, your cat, your companion animals. And many people, that's all they have. So I went to work on a bill. And first time, by myself, it was pretty rough, and I didn't get it through. And then Dick Goddard came on board because he was doing the stuff on Channel 8 for animals and adopting them and getting them fixed and, things that they needed. And so he called me one day and he said, Bill, you think I can help you with that? I said, okay, come on board. And then a couple of days after we had been working on it, he called me back. He said, Bill, do you think you can get the bill named after me? I said, yeah, you do more of this kind of stuff than anybody. So, yes. So I went to work and crossed the aisle, the governor, the other folks, talked to them. And finally they saw I wasn't going to give up. So they said, well, okay, we call it the Dick Goddard bill. And Goddard's law is in force today, and a lot of people who abused companion animals are suffering from the penalties that go along with that. And what it did was make the harming of a companion animal to some heavy degree a 5th degree misdemeanor. And that restrains a lot of people. What we also found out is that serial killers start out as animal abusers. that the FBI now tracks that because they pretty much know psychologically if you don't care nothing about the animals, you pretty much don't care anything for human beings. So it is a hallmark piece of legislation that when I started out, it was just to protect dogs like the one I have at home. My wife loves the dog sometimes, I think, more than me.
Likewise, I can relate to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, because she feeds him and then she washes her hands and feeds me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, I'm overlooking the fact that as a 12-year member of Cleveland City Council, chairman of the Council Finance Committee, and you were overseeing the $1.4 billion budget, vice chairman of Safety, Community Development, Utilities Committee, chairman of the Employment and Affirmative Action Committee. A lot of people are talking about they don't feel secure in the city of Cleveland. From women, elderly, all residents, all sides of town. What view are you bringing towards that safety aspect in the city?
What I like to do is talk about what you've done, and that gives people the impetus enough to believe what you're going to do. Because making promises, especially in a campaign, is fairly easy. But when you look back, for instance, I have a House Bill 109 right now that gives extra years to anybody who, in fact, abuses a senior or commits a crime against the handicapped. Then they get a little extra because they are predators. So I'm doing that and have done that kind of thing as state representative. When it gets down to Cleveland, the first thing you have to do is put the consent decree in place so that the mayor, who is the highest law enforcement person in the city of Cleveland, you can get them back into control, negotiate contracts with them. You can do different things. You can actually, I believe we need to have a more reflective police department, and people would feel better about that. Right now, it's only around 25% African American. At the same time, the city is 60% African American or people of color. The police department should be reflective of that. And how you get that done is plain politics. You make sure that you work on that. But then there are some technical aspects that we can use. In Washington, D.C., if you fire a gun, their sensors will tell you within 3 feet where that shot went off. And if you have cameras and they're all hooked to a central system, then you, in fact, can figure out who's shooting that gun and whether a crime has been committed and who committed it. That's the kind of technology that I intend to bring to the Cleveland Police Department. And I'm also on the steering committee at the state of Ohio for the next 911 system, which turns your cell phone into an official witness of a crime against you or someone else. As soon as you hit 911, it goes right into the system, and you can still stay on your phone while the system is listening and recording to what's going on. So that kind of technology I intend to bring, and I don't think the answer is 400 or 500 police, as some other folks have said. One of the things that comes to me when that's said is that you don't put new wine in old skins. So we need to make sure that we have an attitude and a culture in the police department that does what it says on the side of the car: serve and protect.
So on that note, Bill, because we've been talking, you are a regular caller on the show. You appreciate the forum that we give. So I'm going to hit you with a little question here, okay?
Okay.
And it is reported in the news in Georgia that a policeman fired for saying we only kill black people. Now, you might not be familiar with that story, but
I am.
You are familiar with it, so I don't have to. Well,
my mother is from Georgia, so I guess I'm familiar with it.
Yes, so you're familiar with it. So this for the millions of listeners, this police officer in Georgia was arresting, had pulled over this Caucasian woman. And she was kind of panicky, and he wanted to see her driver's license, and she was scared to even reach for a driver's license. So to calm her down, he said, "Don't worry, Miss Caucasian lady. Say we only kill black people." And it was recorded, and he got fired because of it. What is your take on that, sir?
Well, that's the same culture that kept us enslaved for 400 years. You have to look back on history and kind of look at this. That how did they control slaves? They beat them, killed them, and abused them. That's how they controlled them. And we have some of that attitude left in police departments because historically people don't understand that when African Americans came north, that when they got here, the regular police department wasn't enough, so they recruited people from Georgia and Mississippi and Alabama to come north to be police officers. That culture is retained in some of our police departments until this day. And until we get that out of people's minds and thoughts, because you and I both know, Art, there are a few times when you hear the truth, when people are drunk, when they're mad, and when they're kidding. And those are 3 times you better watch what people say. So I say to you that springs from the same culture that kept us in chains for 200 years before there was any action against that.
Bill, man, man, you on point tonight, man. That comment was right on point.
As a matter of fact, in looking at the fact of being an elected member of Ohio's 10th House District, state rep, been there since 2011, Education Committee, the State Government and Elections Committee, and the Transportation, Public Safety, and Homeland Security Committee, and definitely the fact that you have won your re-election in 2012, 2016. I'm going to ask you, I remember one time you were for it, and then after issue 107 was not conducive enough, you said you wish you had known all the facts, but you went along with it the first time because city leaders and everybody else came up to you to push that, but you had regrets and misgivings.
Yes,
so, being that there's mayoral control, do you still personally feel that mayoral control is needed in this city? And, or the second part would be, what would be your take to add on and make sure that the school system is held accountable?
One of the things that needs to happen is people need to admit that this stuff, all of this, stuff that we engage in politics, governing, it's all driven by personalities and driven by political will and determination to get things done. When you have somebody who is engaged and determined, then the system, it kind of works. If you don't, then the system doesn't work at all. So I would be proposing in my first year a hybrid where some get elected and some get appointed, to move to a point where we can kind of get children educated, because that's the point of the exercise. For instance, this time, the superintendent recently got an award. I'm like, well, why did he get an award? Well, the graduation rate is inching up. But what about the third grade guarantee, where 40% of students failed to pass the third grade reading guarantee? Well, why is that important? That's the projection that they use to build prisons for the future. If you didn't pass the third grade reading, you're going to fall further and further behind, more than likely not going to get a GED or a diploma, and more than likely you're going to turn to the wrong devices in order to stay fed and so forth. So it is an important barometer, wasn't hardly mentioned in the whole thing. It seems to me that we have to be transparent, and we have to do something for our children.
And as a matter of fact, now that we're looking at things, sitting on the Agriculture and Rural Development Committee and Ways and Means Committee, how will you be able to make the quote-unquote downtown Cleveland and the rest of the city, all the neighborhoods, one Cleveland? Because right now everybody looks, and it seems like there's such a focus on downtown Cleveland from the proposed Q deal and quite a few other things, and the Chandelier and Playhouse Square. How can you match things up for those in the inner city who are looking at the potholes, safety, you name it?
When I went down there, it was my job to bring as much as I could back to the community. To that end, I did some negotiations and became the sponsor of the $7.6 billion, not million, billion-dollar transportation budget. Out of that came the bridge that would all ride across, $630 million. You say, okay, you got a bridge downtown. Nice, very nice. But what about the neighborhoods? If you ever go down Eddy Road, you find that we have a little new bridge right there. So we have bridges and improvements on the highways all over this city. A lot of it I'm responsible for as the sponsor of the budget. Opportunity Corridor. They said, well, Bill, you can't do anything there on affirmative action because, that's all federal money. I said, no, we have some money in here that's bonds from the Turnpike. Doesn't have any restrictions. How about we put 20% of that into affirmative action or set aside? They did that. So there's $60 million when they finish doing the Opportunity Corridor that minorities will be able to take advantage of. The other thing is that you can't have 56,000 people working in University Circle and all ride out of here at night. That has to be talked about and dealt with as we move forward. If we are going to be a medical mecca and jobs of 6 figures are going to be handed and 5 figures and high 5 figures, then people that look like me and you have to have some of it. It's only fair.
Bill, you to me, as I listen to you and have listened to you over the years, to me in this particular race, if I could comment on it, you are, to me, as you've been for a long time, you're kind of a calming factor. You're on it, but you're kind of a calming factor. You get things done in a calm way. Did your mama teach you that or what? Or your wife beat you when you leave home to make you act like that? What's going on here?
My mother takes credit for that. Bless her heart, she's 93 years old and still with me. And she said, baby, let your work do your talking.
Well,
Don't do more talking till you do working. And so I've tried to do that over the years. I've done some things that I haven't talked about. But politics is a business, especially when you're running for office, that you need to talk about some of the things you've done. I've not done that over the years because my mom said, let your work. People will catch up with your work. And I've tried to do that.
Yeah, yes, sir. Bill, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. On the phone. My phone lines are lit up, but they won't be able to talk to you because you're a caller just like they are, getting the word across. But Bill, for my millions of listeners, because you are an avid caller, been calling this show for a long time. For the millions of listeners and the thousands and thousands of voters, hit us. Give us, because we love you, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to hit us with your parting shot on whatever you want to say.
Well, I'd like to say to the folks out there, I'm actually worried a bit about turnout on one side of the river versus the other. We have a very important election. 4 of the candidates that are in the running all voted for Trump. And people need to understand that. While they smiling and grinning, they voted for Trump. If they didn't back off that vote when asked about it in one of the debates that I was involved in myself. So I witnessed them saying, yes, we did vote for Trump. And so I imagine you can guess who that is. They don't need naming. But at the same time, that has nothing to do with governing the city of Cleveland. I would be horrified if someone who was liked that ended up governing our city. I say that the voters out there, I am the best, the most experienced. I've been to Harvard to learn to communicate on a fellowship. And I say vote for Bill Patmon. Come out and vote on the 12th. I will not, as my mother said, make you shame.
All right, Bill, you listen, man, I love you. Keep listening to the Art McCoy University radio show. My millions of listeners have heard you, okay?
I appreciate you. Thank you for letting me call.
God bless you.
Thank you.